Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mormon News Roundup. I am your host, Eves, and that is Talent on Loan from Kolob. And today we're diving into a topic that's both sensitive and significant for many people: why people leave the Mormon Church. Now, whether you are exploring faith paths or just curious about the dynamics within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, this episode is what you're looking for. We're counting down the top 10 reasons people choose to step away from the church. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Mormon News Roundup, your go-to source for the latest headlines and critical analysis on all things LDS.
Breaking news.
Join D-Vase,
Mormon News Roundup.
that's Talent on Loan from Kolob, every Sunday and Monday night.
We will uncover the truth behind the news that matters most to the Mormon community.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Many people find that over time they struggle with specific teachings or doctrines of the church. For some, these disagreements become irreconcilable, leading them to seek out different belief systems or spiritual paths that align more closely with their personal convictions. This can include fundamental disagreements on the nature of God or interpretations of scripture that clash with individual understanding. But as Radio Free Mormon points out, many people have issues reconciling doctrinal disagreements and changes with common sense.
Back in my 30s and 40s, when I was in my heyday of TBMism and Mormon apologetics, I used to thank God that the Mormon Church was the only church that you could go to on Sunday where you didn't have to check your common sense at the door. Yeah, I actually thought that.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
The history of the Mormon Church includes various controversial aspects, from the church's early practices to its past leaders. Some individuals find these historical issues troubling and choose to leave as they grapple with these complexities. Concerns about the church's involvement in historical events or practices that are now viewed as problematic can deeply affect one's faith. As church leader Boyd Packer points out, one of the biggest problems with historical issues is that the church has a history of obfuscating historical issues, espousing a faith-promoting narrative, and not telling all sides of the historical story.
In 1981, Mormon Apostle Boyd K. Packer shared how LDS church history is filtered for the members of the church. He said, "There is a temptation for the writer or the teacher of church history to want to tell everything, whether it is worthy or faith-promoting or not. Some things that are true are not very useful. The writer or teacher who has an exaggerated loyalty to the theory that everything must be told is laying a foundation for his own judgment. The Lord made it clear that some things are to be taught selectively, and some things are to be given only to those who are worthy."
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Experiences within local congregations can vary widely. Negative interactions, cultural clashes, or a feeling of exclusion can drive some members away as they seek a more inclusive or supportive community. When personal experiences contradict the idealized vision of church culture, it can lead to significant disillusionment. The Jubilee episode, in which Mormons and ex-Mormons debated certain doctrinal points, show that some people just don't find happiness sitting in the LDS pews.
I left the Mormon Church just a few years ago because it didn't make me personally happy. I get to kind of sit here today in a little bit of a happy position, just knowing that I don't really feel like I have a lot of religious trauma to speak of about my experience in the Mormon Church.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
The church's stance on LGBTQ issues is a significant point of contention for many. Individuals who find themselves or their loved ones at odds with these teachings may decide to leave in search of a more accepting environment. This includes concerns about the church's policies and public statements, which may feel incompatible with their personal values of inclusivity and equality. John DeLynn argues that being gay just doesn't work with the church.
If you ask the average Mormon or the average Mormon leader about how they feel about LGBT people, they'll say, "Oh, we love gay people. We love the LGBTQ community," right? That's what they'll say. And the leaders will say, "You're welcome. You're welcome to be LGBTQ. Come sit in our pews. We respect and value and we want you." But if you fight same-sex marriage, if you condemn same-sex sexuality as evil, if you tell them they can't know love in this life, if you spend your money and your power fighting the rights of LGBTQ people to get married, and if you provide no theological or doctrinal place for LGBTQ members to be members in good standing, and if you teach them to loathe who they are, and you teach them to get conversion therapy to try to pray away their authentic selves, and if you create an environment that's so hostile that they want to die by suicide just by being a member of the organization, then yes, your words are "I love you," but your actions are lethal. And I don't know if it's unfair to say that's hateful, but I don't know how else.
No, I'm leaving leaving this church forever.
Concerns about gender roles and equality within the church can be a major factor in someone stepping away. Some people feel that the roles and expectations placed on women and men are unfair or outdated, leading them to question their place in the church. The perceived lack of equal opportunities and representation for women in leadership roles can also contribute to these feelings. In this next clip, Jeff Fargo shares his personal experiences and the reasons why he ultimately left the church, emphasizing his commitment to fairness and equality. He and his co-host discuss the subservient roles assigned to women, challenging the church's stance on this critical issue.
I'm not anti-Mormon, I'm pro-fairness. I had a big problem with the fact that if you're a young girl, you're going in and talking to the bishop and masturbation could come up as a topic.
Totally, yeah.
Women are not in any type of a hierarchical role at all. As much as they can say it's not, it's true. I left because women are just subservient in the Mormon Church. The role that they gave to anyone who's homosexual, you're not accepted as an equal.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
The church's finances and the use of tithing funds can be a point of concern for some members. Questions about financial transparency and stewardship might lead individuals to reconsider their involvement. Issues such as how funds are allocated or the wealth accumulated by the church can sometimes create a sense of mistrust. But Bishop Waddell, in the presiding bishopric of the Mormon Church, disagrees.
But don't you agree this would be a non-issue if there was more transparency?
No, because then everyone would be telling us what they wanted us to do with the money.
And what exactly is the problem with that? The members of the church proposing uses for the donations that they have given. A charity should absolutely be under the scrutiny of the donors as to how those donations are spent. And those donors should be able to cease their donations if the charitable organisation is spending the money in a way that the donor deems inappropriate. If you found out a cancer research charity was spending more money on property investments than it was on researching cancer, you would cease your donations and give your money to a more effective charity. But Nemo, members pay tithing not because they agree or disagree with how it is spent, but because it's a commandment of God, I hear you say. Well then let them fulfill that commandment. But if the church doesn't do a reasonable amount of charitable spending with those donations, then let's stop calling it a charity and tax it appropriately. Let me know what you think.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Some people leave the LDS Church because they feel that their personal spiritual experiences are not supported or validated by the church's teachings. They may seek out spiritual paths that they feel more personally connected to, finding that their individual experiences and revelations are not reflected in church doctrine. This quest for a more personalized or direct spiritual experience can be a powerful motivator for change.
I don't feel brainwashed. I feel happy, like you should just be happy for me kind of thing. But when you get an outside perspective and when you actually know what like the process of brainwashing someone is, or manipulated them or grooming them for something, it is all of those aspects. And that's how I take it. That's how I see it. I did not feel that way when I was in it.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Family pressures and dynamics can play a significant role in someone staying or leaving the church. Whether it's feeling isolated from family and friends who remain in the church or disagreements with family about religious practices, these issues can drive someone to leave. The emotional impact of family discord over religious beliefs can sometimes outweigh the commitment to the church.
One of my biggest hurdles towards the very end was my dad. And he told me just before he died, he said, "We've built this family on a rock, and I'm handing you the torch as the oldest kid to keep everybody on this rock, on this solid foundation. Our pioneers did it for us, and now I'm giving it to you, and I want you to do it for me. Keep this family going." That was hard to let go of because I still believe he's one of the greatest people ever. That kept me for a while. Just that, not wanting to disappoint him. In fact, my brother and I had a conversation about it. He had left the church some time before, and he said, "I feel the same way, Nan. It was a big stumbling block for me, Dad was. But I had to come to terms and believe that he's one of those people in heaven, and he knows everything now. And he knows the truth. And the last thing he's going to be is disappointed in you." I was finally able to get over that and finally kind of settle into, okay, I don't believe. It was really, really hard.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Conflicts between personal morals and the church's teachings can create a strong dissonance. Individuals who find that their values no longer align with church doctrine may decide to part ways, feeling that the church's ethical stance on certain issues no longer resonates with their sense of right and wrong. This could include disagreements on social issues or personal behavior guidelines.
We'll hear sometimes from the pulpit the implication that people leave because they were offended by this person at church, or they were were treated unkindly by this person at church. That, to me, like, is not my experience at all. I feel like, or by the way, of anybody that I personally know who has left, which is a lot of people. The people in general are wonderful. It's the doctrine, it's the policies, it's the procedures, it's the actual history that has been told an inaccurate way, a purposefully inaccurate way. That is why I left. Like, that is what didn't work for me. And yes, I heard some unhealthy messages from the church, but the people at the local level, I have really nothing but good things to say about the people. So I always felt very welcome to go to church. Having said that, yes, you're right. The talks that are given are sometimes not my favorite. I just don't agree with a lot of the doctrine or policies or practices anymore. And I do find some of those harmful. And then, of course, that trickles down into what people believe on the local level. So there is that. But as far as like a friendship community aspect, I love it. I love the people there.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
Finally, some individuals leave simply because they no longer feel fulfilled or engaged by their religious practice. A lack of connection or satisfaction with the church's teachings and community can lead to a search for new forms of spiritual engagement. This sense of unfulfillment can stem from unmet spiritual needs or a disconnect between personal growth and church teachings.
You look behind the curtain, you realize Oz is there, pulling the strings. There's just way too much disturbing literature there that made it so that I could not believe anymore.
When you're trained to be an FBI agent, you're trained to what?
You got to have the details. You got to have them right.
When he gets his teeth sunk into a case, he is not letting go until he has every single bit of evidence there's possible.
It was a brand new world, surprising and profoundly disappointing. All of us that have been defenders of the church and who have invested all of their lives, the covenants I took in the temple to give all of my resources to the church, including my life. I was serious about that. When you put that kind of effort into something and then you realize you have been deceived, it is so disheartening, so disappointing.
No, I'm leaving this church forever.
And there you have it, folks, our top 10 reasons why people leave the Mormon Church. It's important to remember that these reasons are deeply personal and vary from individual to individual. Understanding these perspectives can foster empathy and insights into the diverse experiences of those who make such a significant life change. Each reason reflects a unique journey towards finding fulfillment and personal truth. Now, let me know in the comments section whether you thought my list was correct. Did I get it in the right order, or did I leave something off altogether? Please let me know. And I do hope that this episode has shed some light on this topic for you. If you have any thoughts or experiences that you'd like to share with me, you can send me an email to collab@mormonnewsroundup.org. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Always think celestial, and remember, no unhallowed hand can stop this podcast from progressing.
When it comes to nicknames of the church, such as LDS Church, the Mormon Church, to remove the Lord's name from the Lord's church is a major victory for Satan.
Satan.